Listen up. Let's go. You're listening to The Traffic Jam on WMUC. This is The Traffic Jam with Brandon Edwards.
Good morning, family. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Traffic Jam. Whether you're just waking up, you're brushing your teeth, or getting ready for school, I'm so grateful that you decided to join me here this morning. Today is a special edition. We're joined here by Run 51, a worship group from all over the nation, and they've been leading worship here in Baltimore for Cru's Winter Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Run 51.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good, man. Feeling
Yeah,
good.
doing
Good to be
great.
here.
So you're here leading worship at Baltimore Winter Conference for Cru. How are you guys enjoying it?
It's going well. It's going well. I mean, this is an environment we love being in with students and staff from all over the country, particularly this area of the country, and just here to have a good time and all step toward the Lord.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's do this. Let's do some introductions real quick. Let's go down the row. So why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do and where are you from?
Yeah. My name is Chaz Miles. I am a vocalist in the group, and I am from Colorado, Pueblo, Colorado.
Word.
My name's Jeannie Uribe. I'm one of the singers, and I currently live in Dallas, Texas.
I'm JB, Jason Burris. I live in Miami, Florida. I play drums for the band and also just kind of do all the other stuff behind the scenes.
Word.
Jeremy Green, and play keys. Play a little guitar, press space bar for the tracks, and just kind of help build some sets.
That's
Cool.
awesome. So one of the
So
things,
you're from where?
I live in Miami.
And you?
Oh, my bad. I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right.
ATL.
Got it.
Wow. Thanks,
Actually,
Chad.
Decatur, West Greater.
You know, it's funny. My grandmother used to live in Decatur. But so the craziest thing, I was doing some research on you guys, right? And I realized that you guys are all former athletes. Is that true?
It is true.
Most of us.
Most of us.
Well, I'm not.
So
I'm one in spirit. I'm one in heart. I support.
She's athletic.
you athletic?
But I cannot claim that I was a former athlete at the college level.
That's fair. That's fair.
Clarification. Yeah, man. Most of us were. I played football at Colorado State. Wow. Go Rams. So many moons ago. But yeah, football for me.
Yeah, I ran track also at Colorado State. And me and Chaz, we are all about those Rams. The Rams.
I played football at Morehouse College.
Wow. Morehouse man.
Yeah, for sure.
Word. So, okay. So you guys were athletes. Most of you guys were athletes, right? And then you decided to do music. So how did that come to be, man?
Yeah, while I was in college, there was a camp that happened called the Ultimate Training Camp. And the Ultimate Training Camp is basically an environment where college and pro athletes come to grow in their faith and come to see how the gospel intersects their sport and life. And so that was an environment that I was invited to, and I went a couple times, and the worship was okay. The speaking was great. The fellowship was dope. But I was like, man, what could I give to this? How could I contribute to something like this, especially so that it would impact the people that I know? I could invite my friends with confidence, and I can say, yo, you should come to this. So that's kind of how I got part of how the band started, really.
Wow. So you went to this camp. You got inspired, for lack of words, you got inspired to do something with it. And so besides Chaz, how did you find all these people?
Well, God found them.
Okay.
Nah. It was cool, man. It's kind of like a really cool part of our story, you know. Like, here I am doing my thing at Colorado State. Several years later, Chaz comes along. Like, we didn't actually go to the school at the same time. We missed, I think, maybe by a year or so, but had the same guy disciple both of us, who played a key role in our life. And I met Jeremy at a conference that I was a drummer at, and he was a keyboard player at. Jeannie, worship leader in Miami, needed a sub drummer. So the band, and then there's a few other members, but the band is made up of just organically God placing us in each other's lives. Wow. And, we cultivate relationship and friendship. And, we just started saying, hey, let's do this, man. Hey, I got something to do. Can you come with me? Can you come play? Can you come sing? And that's kind of how it got going.
Wow. So I'm going to tell you guys a story about how I got to know about Run 51. So I was in college at University of Maryland, go Terps, all right? And the guy who was discipling me was telling me about a group called Run 51. And they do diverse worship, and they do all these great things. And I looked y'all up, and I said, yo, I would love to meet those guys one day. And here we are. I'm talking to you guys, and I'm just blessed. So let's continue.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Cool.
So one of the things I've noticed about you guys is you guys are a pretty diverse group, right?
What do you mean?
I'm talking about y'all are diverse musically, but you're also diverse racially, and I'm assuming even denominationally, right? For you, and then I'll ask another question for the rest of you. Was that on purpose, or is this just your friends? You said organic, it happened.
Yeah, well, I grew up, and my mom was a worship leader, is a worship leader still. Right, Jay Green? Yeah. Every time he come to my house.
I got to play the organ every time I come in there.
Testify.
Yeah, for A, B, and C selection. So I grew up in an environment where worship was valued. Small churches, big churches, conferences, retreats, all that kind of thing. And one thing that I learned about leading people is how to lead others without the personality being the main thing. And what's really cool about Run 51 is we have 4 vocalists when we're full throttle at an event, and all 4 vocalists are strong leaders. They all bring different things to the table. They've all led worship on their own before. They all have different strengths. They all are different people, and like you said, very diverse. And man, what an incredible way to serve the body of Christ. What an incredible picture of the body of Christ as well is we can stand up in front of people representing Christ and not representing just one. Then God made us all, right? And he made us different. And we get a chance to represent that to people when we stand up. So it is intentional. It's intentional from a standpoint of we have great leaders and great talent in our group, but also that God made us all, and we don't have to, our band, not saying it's wrong for others, but we don't have to have one leader to lead every song. We don't have to have one style of music or one style of person to lead everything we do, because we get a chance to be in front of a lot of different types of people. So,
yeah. That's amazing. So this is a question for all of you guys, right? So with all the things that are going on in the country and in the world, how do you, as a diverse group, how do you implement that? How do you think you guys fit in that?
Yeah, it's a great question. For the climate that we're in, the times that we're in, I think what we do well is bridging the gap. We bridge the gap between age differences. We could be in a room where there's at a similar Cru event where there's a 20-year-old white woman in there and a 65, 70-year-old black lady in there. And how do we appeal to both of them? How can we speak to both of them? How can we encourage both of them? And so we do a good job of bridging bridging that gap, age-wise, culturally. As you can see, we're all different shades and shapes and sizes and all that, and we love that. So diversity is important to us because we feel that we've been gifted with the gift and the responsibility of bridging the gap and bringing people together. Music in general is a universal language. It brings people together, and it moves people. So for us, we feel like when we do what we do, we want to move them together in connecting with each other and bridging that gap, but also move them also to God, to Jesus, to hope, to faith, to love, to all of those things that we're trying to get across to them. So I feel like that's what we do well.
What would you guys?
Well, I grew up Baptist, and then I went to college and went Pentecostal, and then I changed the game and went Hillsong / Passion.
Nice.
So I think in that kind of that timeline, I kind of just picked up little things from each one of those different styles of worship, and we kind of say, okay, in this environment or for this person, I have a little bit of insight about how they able to connect with God and in that Sunday morning experience, and we kind of sit there and say, how can we make a moment where everyone could be connected to God just for a second?
Wow. How about you?
Well, something that I really have appreciated about being in this group is I feel it's created a space for me and for all of us to just open a dialogue about what's happening and color, whatever you want to see, however you want to experience that or explain it. But it's opened that dialogue for me. But what I love is how we translate that on the stage, in that they allow me to be me, but at the same time to push myself and to grow in different areas and different styles of music or anything like that. But I love the dialogue we've created here that I think translates on the stage as the four of us and even the band behind us, how we play, the style of music we do. I think it's creating a really cool dialogue and people can pick up on that. And they're like, wow, I can see how there's beauty in diversity and there's beauty and this, even the sound's different to me, but I like this. Why do I like this? Let me start asking. Let me explore this more. That for me has happened on the stage, and I hope it translates off the stage as well.
Wow. So. You know, I'm going to pick up on a little things that you guys each said that I find extremely fascinating. One of the things you said is a responsibility. Can you go in depth a little bit more about that concept of responsibility and the believer's responsibility in that?
Sure. I think when I say that, you know, we as a culture, we like to turn our eyes to certain things, especially when somebody has a microphone or a platform to get the attention. You know, we're very attention based, right? We like to watch things or listen to people of influence, or people even in this room right now. If somebody were to walk in this room, they would listen to what I'm saying because I have a microphone. To me, that's power, and that if you have power, you have a responsibility to steward that power well. Yeah. And for us, when I say responsibility, I think God has gifted us in such a way that we're able to be that communicative piece for God to communicate that message of diversity and love and hope and faith, but do it in such a way that is not a divisive situation. I heard somebody say, I think it was a preacher one time, he said, the most segregated day of the week is Sunday, especially Sunday mornings, because everybody goes to their group, right? Well, for us, what we love to do is bring people together. There's nothing wrong, I don't think, with having your style and the way you like things done and going with your group, but I think that there's a beauty that comes when we're all together as one, especially in a moment, sharing a moment together, or sharing a conference together, or sharing just some worship moments that allow you to break down those barriers that we may have put up. So I feel like for us, we have to be responsible enough to know that that's there, and responsible and tedious in how we move people toward each other. Recognizing everything that I just said, but also knowing that we have a special gift to tear those walls down and bring people together.
Wow. The key word I hear that is stewardship. It's stewardship of a mantle, I guess. And one of the things that you were saying, Jeremy, was you did different things at different periods of your life, and I identify with that a lot. So when you went from each group, right, to just experience that type of worship, how did you break the barrier? How did you get yourself familiar with it, or was it just organic for you?
I think the first two, staying pretty much at different types of black church, pretty much, it was pretty natural. Right. But going from that to Hillsong Passion, that was tough, I would say. And it's just a lot of nuances that I wasn't familiar with. And first, I was pretty arrogant in the way I wanted to do things. So it was like be a little more humble, pick up some stuff. And then once I decided that I wanted to learn this style or learn how this is this way of doing music, it was very insightful. And it was like I really started to dive in some of the lyrics, and I was like, these lyrics is nice. Like they spend a lot of time thinking about the perfect word for this perfect moment, and that's key. So you don't want to mess it up with some random chord. You want to chill. Let the words that the writer has penned, shine forth. And what happens is that I kind of got this idea of these writers are writing music for people to sing and sing praises to God, but it's to get to a moment where people can find their own words to sing to God. So it's like I have these lyrics that people have written for you, just for a template. Yeah. And then once you kind of got those lyrics in, just see what's in your heart. See what you want to say to God. And that's kind of what I learned from Passion and Hillsong. They kind of got that, and I was like, I want to keep that for sure.
Wow. So what you're saying kind of leads into what you were saying. It's this concept of being yourself, right? Being who God uniquely made you to be in the midst of people who are different from you. And my question for you, I guess, is how has that blessed you, right? How do you feel when someone allows you to be yourself?
Well, I think that's probably one of the hardest things you can truly be is yourself, right? Because you have Twitter, Instagram, one thing telling you to be one thing, how to do your makeup, how to dress. And then you have your church on Sunday or whatever is telling you one thing. And there's this constant tension of, well, what is my true self? And what has helped me, honestly, is bringing these men and women around me that believe in me and want the best for me. And it has pushed me to say, okay, I find my true identity in Christ alone, and it's not found in the voices coming everywhere else. So my advice to anyone usually is, who are you surrounding yourself with? What is the loudest voice you're allowing to come into your ears? And for me, it's constantly being around these guys and Crystal and Josh and all of them that really just push me in whose voice are you listening to? Are you listening to his? Are you listening to everybody else's? And that has been the biggest blessing in my life. Even songwriting, like they'll call me out. They're like, is that really a lyric that you would really say in real life? And I was like, no, it's probably what you would say in church. Well, don't write that lyric. Let's write a real lyric. And that has I've grown so much in that. So my biggest advice is, and it's the hardest thing you can do, but it's identify who you put around yourself. That's really going to help you shine and to truly be who you are in Christ. It's kind of one of the hardest things you can do, but it's the greatest thing you can do, I think.
Wow. I think that might be our traffic jam quote of the week. Be yourself. Wow. There's so much rich and deep things that you guys are saying right now. And I just love that you guys are musicians, but there's a depth to what we as artists do, right? It's not just we're getting up on stage and entertaining people, because there's an element of entertainment in worship, right? But we're still musicians, we're still artists, and we're worship leaders, but there's a depth to what you guys are talking about. It's not just about what happens here. It goes beyond this. There's a diversity. There's something speaking to the environment that we're living in. And I love that responsibility. It's serious. It's serious business. Going off of what you guys have been saying, as believers, right? Because we're believers here. What would you say, right, to the church who's struggling in the diversity department? What would you say to somebody who maybe doesn't get it? Because we're all family, right? We're a family of Christ. How would you encourage your brother and sister in pushing into that direction and moving out of their comfort zone? How would you encourage?
Yeah, being part of Cru Athletes in Action, we actually have a an activity that we've started to do with our staff called Lenses. And Lenses is a great thing for us, but it's something we do, but it's something that anybody can do in practice. And what it is taking a few steps to see others differently. Like we get really comfortable in our own skin, in our own world, in our own communities, at our stores, the things that we like, and we sometimes forget that there's other people and others exist. You know, a lot of us live in my world, you don't exist. So I don't know your problems or I don't know your challenges. And I think my biggest encouragement, and this is for all of us, it's part of that diversity thing, and we are constantly training ourselves in it because we're having to cross bridges to reach people and to go to different places. But it's leave your comfort zone and get to know other people. It's not always all about you. Like we know this, we say these things, but when you really start living them out, it's just like, man, how does it really feel to be Chaz, grow up in Pueblo, you know, single mom? Like, yeah, he can tell me that, but it's not till I go to his house, I see where he went to school, I see, you know, what life is like for him, then I start saying like, oh man, that's cool, you know, what is it like to be Jeannie, white girl, grow up in Miami, Florida? Like, you know, she has some really awesome stuff, cool stuff about her, but you don't experience that unless you get to know her. And a lot of times in our lives, we don't have things in place. We're too busy that we don't get to know people. We kind of keep our guard up. So what Jeannie said earlier is just it's simple, but it's so deep. Like when you be yourself and you surround yourself with people that keep it 100 with you, then it allows you to be vulnerable. It allows you to go somewhere in life that you probably won't go on. You can't go on your own.
Wow.
Yeah, but to add to that, my encouragement would be to just celebrate differences, celebrate different things. And because, again, our natural inclination is to just find who's like us because it makes us feel good. It makes us feel comfortable. But I think as we've grown older, we've learned how to celebrate what's different, right? Celebrate the fact that you do things different, you know, or you operate different, or you have a different style of belief. And the other thing I think is really important is disagreement doesn't not have to equal disunity. Because a lot of people, when somebody disagrees with you or we see things differently, we're from two different parts of the world, we just see this thing a little bit differently. They part ways instead of coming together and seeing how they can learn from one another. Yeah. So celebrating differences, especially in the church, especially as believers, my encouragement would be to, like they said, step toward people that are different than you and have a conversation, because you might be able to learn something that makes your world better, your life better, your kids' life better, and just allows you to be more empathetic toward everybody as a human race. You know, like Jesus said, the greatest commandment is love. And one of the ways I feel loved, and most people feel loved, is when they feel understood or heard. Yeah. And so one of the things we can do as believers to love on people is just to celebrate who they are, celebrate the differences, what makes them different than us. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. How can we learn from each other? How can we grow from one another? And when we do disagree, and trust me, we disagree all the time. When we do disagree, you know, it's still okay. We can still lock arms together and say, well, we're still together. We're still a unit. We're still a family.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we have to go our separate ways because we disagree. It just means that let's continue down that road of that conversation to see if we can learn something from each other.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man, because one of the things that I was talking about a couple of weeks on the show was the word of the day was unity. And one of the things I said was, even if I disagree, we can still be unified. Even in a, it's almost like a marriage. I think about this diversity thing. I mean, I'm not married yet, but this diversity thing is it's a marriage. We're all married to each other at some level as believers. We're all family, right? And families have fallen outs, but at the end of the day, that's my brother, that's my sister. Right. And
yeah, and just piggybacking off that example you just gave about being married, like a marriage. Marriage takes commitment, right? You made a commitment to that person, so you're going to work it out. And for us to become united and for us to truly love one another and do life well together, we have to be committed to that. It takes conscious effort to actually do that. Just like you said, just like a marriage. We can't just say, we can't just be committed to wanting to learn about other people when it's convenient, right? We got to want to be committed all day, every day, and trying our best and putting ourselves out there, because it takes a level of vulnerability and humility as well to do so. So I love that marriage, because you have to consciously have to be committed to that.
yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. But before we continue, let's have a word from our sponsors.
Listen up. Let's go. You're listening to The Traffic Jam on WMUC.
Hey, it's Brandon from The Traffic Jam. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the program today. This program is made possible in part by Your Daily Finances. Your Daily Finances is an accounting, bookkeeping, and business consulting firm located in Hanover, Maryland. They take care of businesses and personal accounts. If you want to reach them, you can reach them at 410-782-0154 or online at yourdailyfinances.com.
Just in case you missed it. This is the Traffic Jam Quote of the Week.
One of the things that I really believe is important is setting goals. And when I first started wrestling, I didn't set out to be a national champ. I didn't set out to be a state champ. I didn't set out to reach any specific accomplishment. I just set out to get better every day. Now, when you're one of the worst guys in the room, it's a pretty big task, but it's a simple goal. Just get better. So every day I just want to do something. So it was ask a question, working on technique, trying to do something to get better. And that's something that I've left with me, or I've kept with me for my entire life throughout the whole journey, is just try to get better. Wow. And as time went on, things evolved and different things came up. But ultimately it was just trying to get better and try to make things better than they were before you. And, that attitude has led me to where I am here.
This is The Traffic Jam with Brandon Edwards.
We're wrapping this thing up, right? As we've had so much depth and we've had so many just gems, really. I have two questions for you. Number one, each of you, what do you think Run 51 will be remembered for?
Want me to start? I'll start. I think a little bit of what we've been talking about, but if I had to narrow it down, I would say I hope we're remembered for authenticity. We pride ourselves on creating an environment of authenticity and freedom, right? I think, a lot of our merch says freedom over fear. Fear can grip us, and we like to create an environment where people can be free. And whatever that looks like to you, whatever you need to be set free from. It doesn't have to be super overly spiritual, and it can be super overly spiritual, and every single thing in between. So for me, I would hope that when we're, 50 years from now, they would look back and say, wow, at that, conference or that concert or that church service or whatever wherever they saw us, they would say, man, they were authentic in what they were doing. They were authentic with what they were doing, and I felt a level of freedom in the room.
He took my word, but no, freedom. I think for me, whether you're listening to a track or you're in the room with us, I think, or 50 years, our kids find an album, they're like, "Whoa, my mom was on that. That's cool," but that they hear the freedom that we have, and when there's true freedom, there's joy, there's life, there's love, there's abundance found in that, and I feel that every time I sing or listen to one of our songs because I think they're great. So, freedom.
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, when you're an artist, or specifically a musician or a songwriter, singer, the life and the industry is about the song. You want a good song. Round 51, we have some good songs, but we want a good song. We want a really good song to that people would know and would remember. But that's not Run 51's goal. That's not the thing at the top of our list. I think for me, what I want to be remembered for is people experiencing who God is in the moments, and that's probably the thing that's the most special about the things we get to do. We get to do events that people don't even know about because you can't come unless you're invited. And we're in those events, and almost 99% of the people that come to those events are like, man, this was the best week of my life, or this was the best night of worship of my life, or this was, and I mean, we sing our songs and we go hard and we sweat, and you know, it's crazy, man, when we do these things at the Ultimate Training Camp or these conferences, but it all comes down to this person saying, you know what, I met God at that place, or God changed my life, or God changed my heart, or I'm driving in my semi-truck. We got an email. I'm driving in my semi-truck, and I'm listening to one of his songs, and I had to pull over and just worship God. Like, so it's just an offering what we give. And I hope people are. I hope what people remember is just, or that they have an experience with God, and if we get to be part of it, awesome.
I would say if someone felt included in corporate worship, would be my takeaway. And either they were able to meet with God for the first time or for the third time, or they've been in church all their whole life, but this time they saw God a little bit differently than before. It's probably one of the things that I would hope people to do. Because I feel like, like I said before about diversity and being the same thing over and over again. You go to the same church for your whole life, and you kind of assimilate to the way they worship, whether it be very charismatic or you just statue for worship. So you kind of that's what you bring to this conference, and to see that, you know what, maybe I like being a statue, or I like being very charismatic, or maybe that's the way that I grew up, but I kind of want to worship God in this particular fashion. But unique word, the freedom to decide how I want to worship is something that I really hope people to we provide an atmosphere of people to make a decision, not based upon what's around them, but based upon how they want to express their love and affection for God.
Wow. Those are all really good things. And the last question, I think, is probably the most important one. In one word, how would you describe Jesus to you? It's a tough one.
Well, I mean, he said it himself. The truth.
Yeah.
I have a tricky answer because I feel like he's different to me in different seasons, and I'll say right now, in this season, he's sustainer in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeannie, for messing me up. Yeah, I'm going to go with discipler.
I would probably describe him best in my life as unconditional. And I would put love on the back of it, but he asked me for one word, so
He's a hyphen. He's a hyphen.
yeah, unconditional love. Because I think, again, that life is so diverse in and of itself, ups, downs, highs, lows, and he's constant. He's the unconditional. His unconditional love drives most of my life and the experience that I have in it. So.
Well, before we end, we want to wish Chaz a happy belated birthday.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Getting old out here.
I forgot that on the top. But JB, where can the people find you?
Yeah, our website is run51.com or wearerun51.com. We'd love to have you interact with us. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, YouTube, and shoot us a note, man. We like to get back with people and engage with people. That's our heart. We love to go back and forth. So
that's awesome. So, family, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us this beautiful, beautiful morning. We were here hanging out here with Run 51. They run to win. If you're listening for the first time, thank you for listening. If you want to shoot me something on Instagram, be on the keys. God bless you. You have a beautiful morning. Thank you, guys.
You see through me, straight to my heart. You see the true me and all of my scars. You don't turn me away. You won't give up on me. Yo.
This is The Traffic Jam with Brandon Edwards.